Hey Collective, Happy Samhain. We are doing a spirit board reading tonight. I've never done one of these on the channel and already got some notes going on. Looks like we have Swan Spirit coming through is what I have so far. And it was an interesting topic that got brought through. Bungled was the word that I got through here. And I mean, there were multiple possibilities. I also noticed the words lunged, debt, pled, debut, tend, beg, and tug. And when I was sifting through these letters that I got, uh, when I landed on bungled, I had posted a song earlier today, Judgment Day by Architects, and that earworm came back up when I landed on that word bungled. So I'm not quite sure what that has to do with each other, because bungled is not only fun to say, but a task carried out clumsily or incompetently. So we'll get some cards and see more about this message, what's coming through from Swan Spirit. And maybe swans are of personal significance to you. The zodiac sign that I got coming through is Cancer. Oh, sorry, kitten. She jumped on that one. Nine of Wands, interesting, on the Wounded Warrior card. My cat is languishing her little body against me right now. And when that flipped over, she like tensed up. So something was carried out incompetently, clumsily, and it has to do with Judgment Day. Huh. And usually in the Nine of Wands, there's only one figure. But you can see someone like poking out in the back. So, some sort of standoff, conflict, something or other, that somebody's watching. Gonna have to get more information. Let's see. Oh, and another word that just popped into my mind while I was doing this was cunning. You know, trying to visualize a swan, and then the word cunning came through. And that's not usually something I think of when I think of swans. And Mary Oliver kept coming to mind, but that's wild geese. So I don't know, some sort of deception. Four of Swords. Rest. I don't quite get it yet. So rest and boundaries. Let's see. Let's get one more. And this is like resting on a trail is what I'm getting from that. Like, if you've seen the anime Claymore, how they sleep up against their swords, like sitting straight up. Like it's a very unrestful rest. So something clumsy, carried out clumsily, bungled. When it comes to your boundaries, and if you've ever crossed paths with either swan or geese, you know not to cross their boundaries. Even the most ferocious of predators will think twice about doing that. But what is the nature of what was carried out? This situation. Not the right question? Oh, maybe. Opt out on not the right question. 3 of Swords. Betrayal, heartbreak, mind over emotions. And this is kind of giving me like resurrection vibes. And another anime reference, Vampire Hunter D, how he like covers himself in dirt to recover. So I feel like you didn't let your guard down. That like you're the swan in this scenario. That boundaries were attempted to be crossed. You know, we've got this little goblin riding the boar here. And maybe whomever is playing the role of this goblin wasn't anticipating you to hold firm like that. Maybe that you weren't as on solid footing as you actually are. Because while I might not think of swans as cunning, they are kind of deceptive. You know, they're so beautiful and they like, I don't know if they're actually hugging each other when they're like wrapping their necks around each other, if that's like a sign of aggression. But they're this vision of beauty and they will wreck you. You know? So let's get a little more detail. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. Assertion. Sun in Aries. Yeah, they will wreck you. There is no question about where the boundary is. But assertion over what? I think I'm actually going to get a new space on that, get a little more detail. And with the spirit board readings, I don't do the actual reading of this on camera just because it's dead silent. It's really not that exciting to watch. Well, let's get more about the situation here. Justice and injustice. A desire for justice. And this is definitely giving me the Galadriel vibes. That like haunting. And it's usually the Hierophant that has 2 figures in the foreground like that, but they're like kneeling before her. Like a pledge? Was that one of the words? I think that's a word that can be spelled with the letters I got. Pledge. So an injustice, desire for justice, regarding what? The Emperor. Oh, drama. Oh, the drama. And I know this Emperor came out upright, but this felt like a clash with the Emperor. Like what would normally be an Emperor in reverse, but it's just a major confrontation over an injustice. And Swan Spirit is good to have in your corner for that. And whether you do any kind of workings with animal spirits, things like that, or just like an archetype to meditate on, either way. But what's this conflict about? Oh, 2. 8 of Wands in reverse and Ace of Wands in the upright. This is a very similar kind of clearing here between these two. I mean, they're both the wands, so. This is more harmonious. And the 8 of Wands is often talking about messages, but it's also like what someone is lobbing at you. Whether it's like evil eye, is it gossip, is it witchcraft, is it anything like that? So trying to stop what's being lobbed at you, potentially by the Emperor, or what the Emperor is failing to impede on. Like this is the Emperor's domain, and they are not stopping whatever's going on. An Ace of Wands. I'm getting like illumination from this. Like normally what I would get from like the Ace of Swords, like clarity, but this is almost like a light in the darkness. And that image is definitely contributing to that. And this reminds me of those magnet bracelets that, I mean, take it for what you will, but they're being sold as like medical devices, and they're not. The placebo effect, though, that's coming to mind. That it can be just as effective as the medicine. But take that in a more nefarious tact. That there could be a placebo effect for like ill will. Because there was an attempt at boundary crossing and an injustice. Like a smear campaign? I think that came up in the last reading. Maybe. Because 8 of Wands, I mean, messages. That could be messages being sent around that are twisted, that are distorted. Maybe this is something that's being illuminated to the Emperor, because the Emperor did come out upright. More detail about the conflict. maybe specifically the Emperor. What's going on with the Emperor? Decision and excitement in reverse. Mars in Gemini and Mercury in Gemini. 2 Gemini cards. One upright, one reversed. Oh, and this is giving the Book of Revelation to me, like one of the... Is it all of the seals that have the trumpets, or is it just the 7th seal that has the trumpets? It might just be the 7th. And both of these kind of have a chess reference. Because, I mean, this just has a literal chessboard, but you can also... doesn't look like they've done it here, but you can rook a king. It's one of the few times that the king, if not the only time, I don't know, but that the king can move more than one space when you rook the king. Where they flip-flop spots between the rook, the little castle, and the king piece. So it's a protective measure for the king. The Emperor. I feel like that little light bulb that just went off is like the Emperor's behind the scenes. This boundary crossing wasn't personally done by the Emperor, by like a minion. I almost want to say like a jester, something like that. Why? And this is not an exciting decision. Emperor's not excited about a decision. Not excited about that protective measure or the 7th seal being open. Like what? Something. Because both of those have like a 1-2. The seal is being open to something, and then the rook's move has an implication for the king's move. Like once the rook does that, then I think the king has to move. But only if that king piece hasn't been moved at all, I think. It's been a minute. Nope. Detachment. Venus in Aquarius. Very heady, pun intended, picture. But this is giving me like there's like an old practice. I think it sounds like phlebotomy, but it was like an old practice that got debunked about different areas of the scalp or something. So not excited and maybe very attached to this outcome, this decision. What is this decision? What is this about? Oh, and I can't remember if I said lucky number 8 for this one is what I got. So maybe something's important, specific about your 8th house, whatever is in there. Who is that? Scorpio? And we're in Scorpio season right now. So either your 8th house or your Scorpio placements. Queen of Cups. Water sign. So the decision is about a Queen of Cups. This is a very open Queen of Cups, because typically there's a lid over her chalice. But this is more like a bowl. So is Emperor's really invested in what the Queen of Cups is doing? Or a decision that the Queen of Cups is making? I need more. 7 of Wands in reverse. Wanting the Queen of Cups to give up her position? Maybe not literally, but maybe like a position on something. Like an opinion, a way of thinking. Like boundaries. Trying to get the Queen of Cups to drop the boundaries. Why? Left ear's ringing. It's really low tone. Like on those hearing tests. Where they have you like raise your hand. But why do we want the Queen of Cups to, well, not we, but why does the Emperor or whomever is involved in this want the Queen of Cups to drop her boundaries? King of Wands in reverse. Someone who's fiery, I want to say ego, is out of control. Because Wands, that's like creativity, passion, ideas. Is this who actually had the confrontation with you? You who's playing the role of the Swan Spirit in this? Which could be the Queen of Cups. And this is definitely giving me like Odin vibes. Very like grisly looking person. I'm still not quite clear on why. Because this is like, dude, if she's not into you, move on. You can't break down someone's boundaries into being into you. It just doesn't work that way. And like, why would you want to? I guess I'm just in the enthusiastic yes or nothing club. I don't want to convince somebody to be there. Like, no. Especially not against their boundaries. We've got the 5 of Swords in reverse. The Hermit in reverse. The 3 of Wands upright. Because this kind of has a same sort of arrangement to the 9 of Wands, where you've got somebody up front who you've got all the focus on, but then there's somebody in the background, but they're walking away. Instead of this person, the 9 of Wands, they were like peeking around. So it's like, I mean, this is kind of taking a really uncomfortable turn for me, but the Hermit in reverse is when introspection becomes isolation. Um, in whatever way that looks for you, because everybody's different. Like, I'm a very introverty introvert, and I think I've said this before on the channel that, like, there's monks who have taken a vow of silence, and then there's me. Like, and even they might be like, "Are you sure you're not spending enough time with people?" I'm good. I'm good on that front. But this feels like wanting the Queen of Cups to be on her own. And you don't need to take the genders literally. It's just about energy. You know, leaning into the yin or the yang, either way. But wanting the Queen of Cups to be on her own so that there isn't a conflict when boundaries are attempted to be crossed. Like, they're easier to get past. And then I'm kind of getting a F this, I'm out vibe from this. Because even though he's reaching for like a ghostly deer, it's an illusion. The whomever really has their sights set on, it could be this King of Wands, I'm not sure, but whoever truly has their sights set on this Queen of Cups, it's an illusion. They're painting an illusion. They're even like distracting the companions here. All to keep her isolated? Why? And she looks so serene. It's making me think like, what's that meme? It's like, oh, men try to insult women with the like, oh, you're gonna end up alone with your cats and your books. Like, oh no, please don't sign me up for my dream. You know? Like, are we sure this Queen of Cups is bothered by enjoying her own company? I kind of think not. And I'm getting that might be where this heartbreak is coming from. Like, there wasn't an anticipation that the Queen of Cups would be like, cool, I don't like you people anyway. I'm gonna hang out by myself, me and my cat. Like, whatever. Or her and her puffin in this picture. Why this obsession with the... Ooh. Venus in Pisces, but it's submission, and I just got a like full chill up my right leg. So ringing in the left ear, chill up the right leg. Something's like off. It's like something's trying to seem balanced, but it's like alarm bells. Because if you can see, the door's open on this cage, but the bird's looking the other way. So it's like manipulation. Manipulation to get somebody to stay in place seemingly of their own will. And those psychological prisons are so scary. How they just follow you around even when you are not around that individual anymore. Whether like at all or you're just like going to work for the day. Like when I was in an abusive relationship, it got to the point where I was only eating at work. I would have this like really big lunchbox with me, and I would show up early and leave late. And I think a lot of people interpreted that as like dedication. I was trying to not go home because home was scary, home was a threat. And we've got the wool over our eyes of like productivity, productivity, more, 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 that we completely miss these glaring signs of like, hey, is everything okay at home? You know, like I don't want to stick my nose in your business, but your behavior's slowly been changing over time. You've been acting differently and pulling away, like from people you normally talk to, just, you know, want to check in. And it's that lack of recognition around you that can get you to start gaslighting yourself. In like, well, if they don't see it, am I crazy? Am I overreacting because no one else is even acknowledging this? Like, it feels like living in the Twilight Zone. And sometimes the only way to assuage that Twilight Zone feeling is to convince yourself you're crazy. Is to convince yourself that you're wrong, that you're overreacting. And it's a lack of support. That's really what it comes down to in the long run. But now we've got speculation. Jupiter in Cancer. So that could be, I think, from any number of people in this situation. I'm kind of getting, though, that there's like, why is this Queen of Cups so okay? Like, it's almost somebody has noticed, and they are absolutely confused as to why the Queen of Cups is okay. Because there's something like going on here that someone's like actively trying to get past her boundaries, doing shady things, isolation, and trying to minimize the potential of conflict when they try to get past those boundaries. How is she okay? Kind of astonishing. Let's see. Or maybe let's start a new. Why is the Queen of Wands? Or Queen of Cups? Interesting. Interesting little slip there. Why is the Queen of Cups so okay? Not that that's a bad thing, just out of curiosity. Quiet. Is it a secret? The Fool. Is the Queen of Cups on to something new? New and exciting? Prosperous? The Leprechaun? Wrong holiday, but... Let's see. So what about the Fool card? Knight of Cups. Oh, on to a new love, maybe. And that doesn't necessarily have to be with another person. This could be a new level of self-love, of like, that's the root of why they can't get past your boundaries, is because you have healed and you know that every time you hold a boundary, no matter how upset, how many names people will call you, oh, you're selfish, you're this, you're that, you're hiding something, whatever. Every time you hold a boundary, it's an act of self-love. And this could be a brand new journey. Because the Queen of Cups, being that water sign, can really fall into that empathetic role of maybe being the therapist of the group. She's got no lid on this cup. A lot of giving and giving and giving. And it can be so radical, such a radical sensation, if you're so used to giving to others to your detriment, to finally say no. And the relief you feel, that just empowerment, that's really a spectacular day when you put your foot down, and you can feel that on the Richter scale. And we were talking too about isolation and so forth, so it could be a partnership with another person. It could be you aligning with whatever your passion project is, that kind of love. Let's see. Anything else about this journey? Ace of Swords in reverse. I'll take that as a no. Maybe that is yet to be written, whatever this journey is. And this is certainly giving me Excalibur vibes, sword in the stone. And that could be holding the boundary too, towards this emperor, towards this king of wands and whatnot. It's not shedding clarity on the new journey, whatever form that may take. Because people just, I don't know, they act so childish. Like, as soon as they know something is going well for you, they just have a way of, like, pooping on it. If not outright sabotaging it, If you are doing something that you've always wanted to do and whatnot, and you're talking to somebody who's never been able to do that for themselves, or maybe hasn't even been able to admit that to themselves, that they, got stuck in the 9-to-5 hamster wheel rat race and had to give up some things, unfortunately, as a result of that. They might say things that knock your confidence. And yes, of course, many things are unconscious patterning, and I am not a clinician, bear in mind. I'm just giving my my 2 cents as my life experience with people. I think people are more aware of what we're doing, than we give ourselves credit for. And we give them credit for. Because I think it's a really hard reckoning to really see others' true colors. It is really tough to hear things from someone that you thought you could trust that are just downright, like, bitchy, catty, you know, backhanded, stuff like that. And I don't know. I wonder with the precision that some of these behavioral patterns follow, how could they not be conscious? Especially when you're contending with like the overinflated ego that they're gonna like, well, they couldn't do this or pull the wool over somebody's eyes, but I can because I'm different. You know? It's just some sort of like irrational rationalization. Practicality. Moon in Capricorn in reverse. So impracticality. That could be a criticism that's used for the new journey. That you're being impractical. And I mean, if someone's trying to get past your boundaries, how practical are they? Like, they're not even treating you with respect. They can't manage that. Like, why would I take advice from somebody that can't manage the basics like that? But that's another, like, just the audacity of people. You're like, I know better than you, grown adult. Like, okay, what are your qualifications on that? Like, well, I'm an adult. How are we different? But they don't want to hear reasonable arguments. They want to be irrational. And somebody that's trying to get past boundaries you've made known, that's an irrational behavior. And people have the strangest, like, taking issue with new partners and whatnot. And it's one thing to, like, be concerned for somebody, like, this guy's throwing red flags and you've got, like, rose-colored glasses. Those are blending in. You can't see them. You know, that's one thing. But it's another, like, when jealousy, like, rears its ugly head in friendships and such. Yeah, idealism. That I don't know, it's kind of like really, really young sibling rivalry. You know, like when toddlers get jealous of the new baby, stuff like that. And the parents have to do a lot to assuage that toddler. And of course, there's the dynamic of integrating a new family member and so forth, but it's like the friend that doesn't want the friend group to change, you know, because there's some sort of, like, their identity is wrapped up into that friend group, and if the friend group or something, friend group, friendship, whatever, dissolves, then they lose, like, this anchor point into their identity. And so they need this, like, idealistic version of things to carry on. And we also have versatility here. And versatility is Sun in Gemini, and idealism is Sun in Aquarius. So maybe being versatile in how you keep things to yourself, how you manage those boundaries. Because the Swan management system is very volatile. That's, you know, they've gotten past the barrier for whatever reason. And now, like, time to take care of business. That's what Swan Spirit is for. So let's get one of these oracles here. This is the, what is it? Call of the Morrigan? Yeah. Thought my Celtic decks were apropos for Samhain. Let's get one of these. Raven. 24. Or 6. So another bird spirit. So we've brought up swans, geese, and raven now. This looks like a black hole down there in the nest. And the thread, that's also giving me the red thread of fate. That's my preferred, I don't know, thought process when it comes to people you're supposed to cross paths with. And I say supposed to loosely because I think you have certain lessons that you're supposed to learn in this life. And there are a multitude of people and contexts that you can learn those lessons through. It doesn't have to be through one specific romantic partner that is the end all be all. That's a lot of pressure, you know, to put on one person, on the one. There's so much going on in your shadow that those wounds have numerous ways of being triggered. And if you only look for the lessons in romantic partners, you're missing so much. There's so much dynamic lessons to be learned from everybody in your life. From even like the random interactions that you have with people on the street. So maybe there's a call for some type of shadow work here. I mean, as per the usual, you know, as we say in Tarotland. Shadow work, shadow work, shadow work. It's the buzzword of the day. And the raven too, I'm also getting, especially right now with Samhain, seeing through the veil. Because the black hole, there's an event horizon. You can also like interpret that as like the Rubicon, a little less violent than being spaghettied, you know, by a black hole. But seeing past the barrier, seeing past the illusion, so that you can fly free. Because none of these birds are in a cage, like this little one here. Maybe there's something lingering that has to be learned before you can turn around and see the open door. Maybe you need to listen to that album by Evanescence, The Open Door. That's a good one. We'll get a song here and then get you on your way to trick-or-treating or whatever you're doing. Maybe you're just sitting at home in your comfies. Toxicity. System of a Down. Yeah, I think there's some toxic people in your life right now. Just an unfortunate way of things. What is that line? Eating seeds as a pastime activity? I don't know if this anything here is really calling for like active response, like the swan response to the boundaries at this point. Maybe there's a passive activity, listening to music, journaling, always a good one. Even automatic writing, something to connect with the subconscious space. And don't try and force it. You know, trying to get into that space is tough. It could even be working on sleep hygiene so you have a better environment for dreams to come forth. But a lot to think about. I hope that if anybody does try and cross your boundaries, that you don't hesitate to give them the swan response should it be required. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.